up to the pregnancy, how I was shamed by my mother, how I was called all these sorts of names for my mother. Oh, and then my son's father's family basically abandoned us and were embarrassed by us because we weren't their picture perfect image of a family, because we weren't married and we had a baby out of wedlock. That was a sin. That was a cardinal sin back in 2014. Having a C-section, according to the internet, or according to the mom's corner of Facebook. Maybe wanted to have a kid when I was more financially stable. Maybe in my late 20s. I don't know. It's tough being a mother. It's really tough. And I don't think society respects that. They don't. Another kind of controversial video, but the reason why I'm opening up and I'm talking about these things is because no one talks about them. And when I'm depressed and I'm trying to look for connection, I go on YouTube to see if there's anyone sharing stories, or I go on Google to see if anyone has blog posts talking about these things. But this might be an unpopular opinion in quote unquote the Trump era, as everyone's calling it. But I think becoming a mother has ruined my life. Let me explain. Now, this is not a knock on my child. My child is the perfect kid. He truly is. He is amazing. He is emotionally mature. He's wise. All the teachers love him. His principal love him. His parents want to take him over to their house so he can calm down their kid. And I guess that's a testament to my parenting. I'm trying to teach him all the things that I learned that weren't negative, and hopefully he becomes a better person. I think that's what we're supposed to do as parents, not to bring on the emotional baggage that our parents may have put on us and put it on our kids. But again, that's not our parents' fault. We're all trying to heal. I don't blame my mom for where I'm at. I try not to. That's a different story, but I digress. My kid is perfect. He's amazing. Easy terrible twos. He didn't have a terrible two. Just a chill baby overall. Slept through the night. Everything from now. He's now almost 11 years old. It's not a knock on him. It's a knock on the experience I went through with motherhood. And let's talk about that experience with motherhood, because it all relates to my weight loss journey and why I kind of deteriorated in life. So let's paint a picture. I was 24 years old when I got pregnant. I was 8 months into, I would say my first serious relationship, my longest relationship. And a lot of people have assumptions of me. People assume so many things about me. It just drives me nuts just by my demeanor. They just assume things. They assume I'm this, I'm that. I'm like men I've been with. Oh, they assume that I've been with this many men, or I'm like I sleep around a lot. Listen, certain women with trauma, they'll do that. They'll go and sleep around with multiple people. Whereas certain women with trauma that I have, and you guys just put two and two together, you know the trauma I'm talking about. I'm the opposite. I reserve myself. I don't trust a lot of people. So if I open up and I'm intimate with someone, it means a lot. So I'm a late boomer. I lost my virginity at 21. I've been with less than 10 men. I'm still in the single digits, and I'm in my 30s. Despite what, you see on the internet, there's a lot of young girls who are like 19, 20. They've been with like 3 times the amount of men I've been with, but that's a different story. But anyway, first relationship, I was trusting, I was opening. This was the first guy I was careless with. Other men I was with, I was very protective of myself. I didn't want to get any diseases or anything. Made sure everyone used a condom, but I was kind of done with this guy, and I ended up getting pregnant 8 months into my relationship. I was 24 years old. So picture this, 24-year-old, you're a millennial. At this time, millennials were struggling to find jobs. They were coming out of school. We had all these promises, you'll get this, you'll get down. A lot of people struggled. I know a friend of mine, she was a nurse. It took her years to get a job as a nurse, years to get her career as a nurse. She went to schooling for nursing and everything. So at that point, everyone was trying to get their career set. Everyone was trying to, survive, get that thing going. That was my plan too. The way I saw my life was I went to school for environmental studies and biology. I wanted to be a scientist. I wanted to write research paper. I wanted to do ecological restoration. So restoring damaged ecosystems. That was my thing. I wanted to go to university for that. I wanted to go to the University of Alberta, which was in Edmonton, and work in the oil sands and help restore ecosystems that were destroyed by oil production or what have you. But that didn't happen. God had other plans for me. It's my fault. I take full responsibility for this. But why do I say having a child ruined my life or being a mother ruined my life? Because when I became a mother, the only thing I remember is being in chronic pain. I've been in chronic pain for 10 years straight. Basically, when I gave birth, I'm not sure what happened. The labor was 27 hours long, and it was a really long labor. I remember how I ended up in the hospital. It was a week before my due date, and a lot of women go on longer. And basically, I was having really severe contractions. I wasn't feeling well, so I went to the hospital. They saw my blood pressure was elevated and was never elevated throughout the pregnancy. They were concerned about the baby, so they decided to, what do you call it? Oh my gosh, the term is leaving my head. Induce me. So they induced me, pumped me with a ton of Pitocin. My body was not ready to give birth. They popped my water. So once you pop the water, you have no choice but to give birth. They physically popped it. So I was in labor and my body wasn't ready to labor. And I was so stubborn at the time that I wanted to have a natural birth because at the time Facebook was taking over and it was all these anti-vaxxer moms on there and all these moms were like best is breast and breast is best. So breastfeeding your kid and the perfect image of motherhood. You want to have a natural birth, no pain meds, all this stuff. I don't know. I was messed up. I shouldn't say that. I wanted the best for my kid. That's what I was trying to do. And people said natural birth was the best way to go. So I tried to have a natural birth, meaning that I didn't want any pain meds. My body was in so much pain, it wouldn't literally dilate. So they're just like, we have a choice. We can either do a C-section, which is something that was a sin. That was a cardinal sin back in 2014. Having a C-section, according to the internet, or according to the mom's corner of Facebook, having a C-section is the worst thing you could do because C-section, your baby's not going to get the gut microbiome transfer, the healing. Like, it was like, C-sections are evil. And I'm like, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to have the best experience for my kid. Well, hindsight 2020, I should have had that damn C-section because basically my birth canal is very narrow and the baby's heads are very big these days. So evolution's making their heads really, really big. Anyway, he was stuck I ended up having an epidural. And I tried to push and push. He was basically stuck in my birth canal for 3 hours. The doctors were terrified. They weren't telling me this, but on my son's father's face, they were trying to keep me calm, but the baby could not. It would have been bad because the baby may have not survived. So I literally had to push for 3 hours, and I had to push because he was at the part of the canal, and they're just like, if we don't do this, we're gonna have to do an emergency C-section. And I remember I was like all mad up. I pushed so hard and I felt a tear right in my hip area, right to this very day. I still feel it. There's like a ball of scar tissue right here and it's like in my hip joint with the psoas. Anyway, I felt it. It was excruciating pain even with the epidural. And he came out and he was the most beautiful thing I ever laid my eyes upon. A porcelain doll, a beautiful baby. So, the first days in the hospital I was there, it was, I recovered, what have you. Did I recover? I don't know. It was a very stressful time. Did I even mention leading up to the pregnancy how I was shamed by my mother, how I was called a whore? I was called all these sorts of names for my mother. Oh, and then my son's father's family basically abandoned us and were embarrassed by us because we weren't their picture perfect image of a family because we weren't married and we had a baby out of wedlock. They come from like a Christian cult. Let's just call it that. It's not an extreme cult. It's a good cult, but it's a Christian cult. So they have their Christian opinions. So there was all of that. And yeah, leading up to that, I had a lot of stress. And then seeing my son's father break down, he had a lot of pressure from his family. People were disappointed in him because he had a child out of wedlock, all this stupid shit. Um, I'm just not a fan of human beings. People are just, it is what it is. And speaking of which, went through all of that. My mom put me through hell the first couple of days. I couldn't even see her. I was so stressed out. My breast milk didn't come out because she was there like making me feel like crap. All this stuff. Just horrible. My motherhood experience wasn't perfect. You go on Instagram and you see all these mothers having their perfect, their little perfect little, what do you call it? Baby showers, and everyone shows up and they're all happy about the gender and all this stuff. That was not my life. That, what you see on social media isn't real. Everyone just puts out their happy moments. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes. People have their perfect marriage and they're divorced in 2 years. Everything's fake. No one's real. It's just, I'm over this picture perfect thing. I respect people who are being honest, so I guess that's just why I'm being honest, that really motherhood ruined my life. Well, let me get to the gist of it. Basically, after that, I was in debilitating chronic pain. The doctors were like, oh, it's from pregnancy. It's okay. It's just from you giving birth. I'm like, okay. Things will clear up in 6 months. I'm like, okay, 6 months come along. I go to the gym and I just do an up-down plank. So basically, you're in plank position from an elbow plank and you go up into a straight arm plank. I did that and I felt this pull in my lower back and I was in so much pain. And I was like, what is wrong with my body? What is going on? Cue in the journey of figuring out what the hell happened to my body after giving birth, because no one knew. This was back in Toronto. Healthcare system's crap in this country. I waited about 8 months for an MRI. Doctors suspected it was a slip disc in my spine. And I waited 8 months being in so much pain, debilitating pain from my hip to my knee to my back. I just couldn't function. It would radiate down my left leg. That's where I felt the pain right there. It just deteriorated. And I go, and guess what the MRI said? My spine was clean. So I sat there a year postpartum, and I'm like, am I losing my mind? Am I losing my freaking mind? What is going on with me? So I go on this journey, seeing physio after physio, and no one can help me. No one can help me until I had a severe breakdown 3 years postpartum after being in that much chronic pain for 3 years. It's like women give birth every day. And I remember being in a women's group with other moms who just given birth, and I look at them and I'm like, they're so lucky. They're not in pain. Why can I give in birth and not be in pain? But then you don't want to get stuck in that mindset, because that mindset, it's a very toxic mindset. But do I blame myself for being in that mindset? No. So I started to get envious of other women, or other women who say they love being pregnant and pregnancy was the best time for them. They felt well. Pregnancy was a disaster for me. I threw up every day until labor. I could barely eat. It was horrible. I hated being pregnant. It was horrible, but my son came out super healthy, so that's the benefit to that. And another thing I must acknowledge is that I probably sound like a spoiled brat right now. Infertility is a crisis, and we all know why it's a crisis. I talk about this on my channel. It's the same reason why obesity is a crisis. It's the same reason why our metabolic health is screwed up. The food system and the toxins we are exposed to is making a lot of women infertile. And you see women in their 30s now going through IVF, unable to have kids. So I feel like a spoiled brat, being like, oh, motherhood ruined my life. And then there's women who wish they could have been in my situation, who wish they could have gone through. I went through because at least they would have been a mother. I do acknowledge that. And I'm not disrespecting, or I'm not disregarding those women who've been through that. But I don't want to say but. However, this is my experience. And the funny thing is, I wouldn't go back and change it because of my son. I love him so much. He is just, I wouldn't go back and change it. The kid's my best friend. Him and I were playing Roblox all the last 2 days while I've been dealing with this horrible flu. But anyway, doctors didn't know what the hell was wrong with me. I ended up going through a horrible situation where I had to be hospitalized for like 2 months for my mental health because I couldn't live like that. No one could live in that much pain. No one could live. And I've been on this journey to figuring out what the hell happened to me. I probably only figured it out this year after getting into my car accident 2 years ago. It's like, I don't get it. I hate doctors. I don't trust the medical system. I hate it all. It's all. Anyway, so I ended up going to the hospital. My doctors finally took me seriously because, again, women are ignored when we talk about pain. We're just ignored. And then I ended up being recommended or prescribed, what's the term? Referred to a physiatrist. It was a woman physiatrist that literally changed my life. She told me it was my pelvic floor. Now, she was on the right track. It was, but my pelvic floor was actually the symptom of things. And that I needed to see a pelvic floor physio. So I saw a pelvic floor physio who absolutely changed my life. She recommended me see a pelvic floor physio and an osteopath. The osteopath was useless. The pelvic floor physio changed my life. And she literally helped heal my body through traditional Chinese acupuncture, basically relaxing the muscles. Because basically when you're injured, or some people when they're injured, their muscles seize up. So my joints my muscles were seizing up to protect the joints because they were weakened from the injury I went through. So when you have injury, it could cause atrophy and it could cause muscle imbalances where certain muscles don't work. So a lot of people who have knee pain, it's coming from the hip usually. You gotta look upstream. I'm learning this from my whole personal training journey. And when the hip's imbalanced, that's when you gotta make sure you gotta do the right exercises for you. You need to have an assessment and have someone look at your body. But it's probably the glutes that need to be strengthened. The hip flexors need to be strengthened and stretched and released, and the core. Anyway, I saw my pelvic floor physio and she changed my life. The acupuncture helped my muscles release, and then she started giving me exercises to do. She said my glute med was weak, and I started getting stronger from there. And then I decided to move to Calgary. But anyway, this is a long-winded story. We're not going to go into that part. That was in my last video. You can check out what happened there post-car accident. But I feel like I was in chronic pain. I am still in chronic pain my entire motherhood. And I feel like it ruined my life not only with the pain, but with my career. I didn't imagine myself in the situation I'm in now. I imagined myself being like I said, a scientist. I probably, if none of this would have happened, would have been happy, you know? I say this, yeah, I would have been in Edmonton. I probably would have been making tons of money being a scientist. I would have maybe wanted to have a kid when I was more financially stable, maybe in my late 20s. I don't know. But I say that maybe that wouldn't have happened then. Maybe I would have been 35 and not finding anyone and I would be childless. I don't know. Is the grass always greener? Some people say yes, some people say no. But that's where I'm at. So when I feel like motherhood ruined my life, I just feel like it's not where I expected it to be. I'm not in a happy situation. I'm not married. Should I be thankful? Yes, I'm thankful that my son's father is still around because a lot of women don't have that he is supporting me. It is very stressful. He is paying my bills. You know, I have a roof over my head because of him, but that's going to cue me into my next video about staying in a relationship that you should leave, but you can't leave because you're financially dependent on someone. Stay tuned for that. But I just want to do a disclaimer. Motherhood is a beautiful thing. It gives you purpose as a woman. Don't get me wrong, it does. And it's cool having a little kid love you so much, and I love him so much, and seeing him blossom into the young man that he will be. And I know he will be a great human being. He is a great human being, and he brings so much joy into people's lives. Anyway, this is just my story, and I'm trying to flip the narrative of my perspective of things, you know? But we'll get there. I'm going through a rough time, and I'm just being honest, and I'm just going to show you how I'm going to change it all around. It's going to be tough, but if you have the same experience as a mother or a similar experience as a mother, you're not alone. Your feelings are valid. You should not shame yourself for feeling the way you have. And it's tough being a mother. It's really tough. And I don't think society respects that. They don't. They don't. It's clear that they don't. But I guess it's one of the best jobs you could do if you can do it well. But there's been a lot of mothers out there who can't really be mothers for their kids, mothers who've had drug addiction issues and whatnot, and I'm trying not to be one of those mothers. I shouldn't say that, but I've been taking a lot of strong pain meds because of the pain I've been in. I'm trying to figure myself out, but if you're in this boat, I just want to say this video is just to tell you that you're not alone. Anyway, I'm gonna sign off now, and if you made it this far to the video, just drop in the word joy. Peace out.